Now, I know we're still more than a month away from the anniversary and the 50% discount on all uniforms, but I think now is still a really good time to get the ball rolling and talk about maybe not the best uniforms to buy, but in my opinion, the best uniforms to avoid for this time of the year, and especially in the coming months. Because not only the 50% discount, but also the 40% discount. A lot of people buy uniforms. There's seasonal uniforms coming up with April Fools. And I just see a lot of traps. I see a lot of traps. I see a lot of bait. I was really happy with the bait video that I made a few months ago for, 2023. And we talked about Strife. We talked about Sharon Rogers. We talked about Green Goblin. And he ended up getting replaced by Mystique. It was pretty funny. So you know what? I feel like there's value there. So we're going to kick this list off here with Professor X. I don't want to spend too much time raging because there's multiple tier 4s that I own personally that I'm disappointed with. But yeah, this is a big one. I think this is just a mega trap character right now. They have not done a good job of balancing him, especially with how expensive he is. You know, we talked about Danger Room yesterday, which is funny because you used to be able to get these characters for free. And I know there's still a way to get them for free by, shooting star luck in Dimension Mission contribution chests, but let's be real, they want you to go and buy them in the store for 4,500 crystals. And they just haven't done a good job of balancing these characters. And it's not that, Professor X should be the strongest because he's the most expensive. He should just be straight up stronger than Magneto and stronger than Cable. That's not the issue. And I'll use an example of a character who's not on this list to illustrate what I mean about Professor X. And that character is Black Panther. Now, when Black Panther came out, people were like, is he the best combat hero? Some people were like, yes, but some people were like, no, he's actually a little bit worse than Moon Knight if you have the full team-up collection. So there was a possibility, there was a way in which if you maxed out your Midnight Suns, that gives Moon Knight an extra 10% pierce, he can keep up. So even when he was released, he wasn't the best. And I want to further illustrate this because now that we have Gladiator, we know for sure, Gladiator just dusts Black Panther. Okay, but why isn't Black Panther on this list then, Alex? Isn't he a disappointing bait trap uniform? If he's not the best combat type, but he's so recently released? Well, no. The reason for that is Black Panther's still a really good character. He's still a really good character. He's still a really strong character. He's very easy to play. He has very nice animations. And he's got all that, right? And none of that is changed by the fact that Gladiator's a little bit better than he is for ABX and ABL. Right, Black Panther is still strong. He has good, strong passives now. He's easy to play. He's fun to play. He hits hard. He still has all of that. He still retains all of that. Professor X and a lot of the other characters that I'm going to talk about on this list, not so much. Not very easy to play. Doesn't hit that hard. Doesn't have a lot of survivability. So yeah, that's why I'm pretty disappointed, and I think this is basically a trap uniform. Similarly, the Ant-Man. Now, I'll admit, as a tier 380, he's very good. Miles Morales is still better, just straight up, unarguably better. But he's not bad as a tier 380. The trap really comes when you tier 4 him. He gets so little of a buff from his tier 4 that it's frankly disappointing. It's frankly disappointing. The only cool thing is that he gets bigger and smaller. He gets more size changes, which I think is great thematically for the character. But they really should have given him a lot more damage to compete with Miles, or they should have given him PvP value, which I think they should have done from the get-go because he has the elusive hero passive, right? They really just forgot that Ant-Man used to be good for PvP, and they just neglected him, and it's a shame because this is just a massive, massive trap uniform. The next one I want to talk about is actually 4 characters. Most of this list is tier 4s, I'll be honest with you guys, but the entire Warriors of the Sky. I think this experiment is over. It lasted a pretty long time, to be honest. But yeah, I think this even if I was thinking about this, even if Sunbird and War Tiger get tier 4s, right? Is it going to propel them to the top of the PvP meta? No, it's not. It's really not. They would have to get such busted tier 4s and such busted uniforms, right, for it to matter. Because at this point, the characters who were good for PvP, and mostly it's Blue Dragon, she has no chance anymore. You don't see any more teams with Warriors of the Sky in Otherworld Battle, right? They're not there, even when there's a massive ban list and there's a buff on humans. Nobody's using Warrior, or it's very few players using Warriors of the Sky, and they're not seen anywhere in Timeline Battle. I mean, probably they still have value in Alliance Conquest, but that's a dying game mode, as we've talked about. So yeah, I think the experiment's kind of over. Shadow Shell has obviously been overshadowed by Gwen, by Gamora, by Luna. So yeah, I think all 4 of them are kind of a trap. They're sort of like a combo trap. I don't think Blue Dragon is necessarily the worst tier 4 in the game. So tier 4ing her wouldn't be a massive waste of your resources or whatever. But I certainly wouldn't build the Warriors of the Sky as a group, as a trio, even for something like PvP. Given the fact that I don't think it's going to work nowadays. I just genuinely don't think it's going to work. Another tier 4 that I had hopes for in PvP that I just don't think is going to work is Farmer Thanos. This one's actually quite relevant because the April Fool's uniforms are going to be on sale sooner. They're going to be on sale ahead of the 4-year anniversary. So these uniforms with Squirrel Girls and Deadpool and Gwenpool and whatever the new ones are, these ones should go on sale in a few weeks, right? Because it's going to be April soon. And the more I look at this uniform, the more I'm disappointed with it. So yeah, I don't think Thanos is going to be getting anything for a while here, but I also don't think that this is the answer either. So I would say if you haven't picked up this uniform and you were thinking about it, think again. You could still go with it. Like, it's still his best uniform for sure. It makes him a lot better for PvE. It definitely makes him a lot better for PvE, which is nice, but it just doesn't do enough for him in PvP to really justify it being a seasonal, it being, full price. And genuinely speaking, PvP is still Thanos' game mode, right? That's really his game mode. It's really not PvE. So yeah, this uniform is just not all that. Continuing my hate for universal villains, Loki. I actually think this uniform is a bit of a miss. Now, aesthetically, in terms of the skill animations, it's a miss because there's no God of Stories. There's no horns. There's no green cords that he's holding together, right? There's none of that, which is disappointing. But additionally, to really tap into the power of Loki, he needs a max build. And when I say max build, I mean brilliant CTP. And that's really disappointing in my opinion. Not to mention, even if you give him a max build, he's not going to be that good for World Boss. He's not going to be that good for GBR. It's still just ABX ABL. Now he does, he is able to play a lot of roles, right? Because he could take over some of the stuff for Black Bolt. He takes over the alien villain stuff, right? He takes over a lot of stuff. No doubt about that. But the fact that he needs a max build for it is pretty cringe. And really, if it wasn't for that one day of villain alien, if it wasn't for that one day, then I feel like Loki would have been a bust. I feel like he genuinely would have been a bust. And I really like Loki, but they've got to change something about his kit. It's very annoying to play, sort of like Professor X, but much more magnified. This skill is just not good. I know it's got a cool name, God of Stories, but it's not good. That the number of explosions is based on the number of enemies. It's such a headache to play. It's much better now that they changed the striker situations. It is definitely better, but it's still inconsistent. And it's very frustrating to sink so much resources into a character, and then they're still very inconsistent. There should be some way, gameplay-wise, to make up for that through sheer skill. And there kind of isn't, which makes that very, very frustrating. Keeping on the line of aliens, but not villains, StarLord. Now, hindsight is 2020, as we say, and seeing Gladiator, seeing Beta Ray Bill further solidifies and cements that StarLord was absolutely a bait character. Absolutely, right? Not only do we know that just a few months after StarLord, they were going to drop Odin, right? So they were really just baiting ABL players like, oh, you don't want to play Thor anymore? Here you go. You're tired of playing Thor? Ooh, here's another, it was a decent score upgrade, but Odin just, blew the dick off StarLord, let's be real. And now Gladiator and Beta Ray Bill just sort of compound that. And it's just kind of a bummer. It's just kind of a bummer because now StarLord, he's a leadership, and it's sad because he just, he now has a team up collection, and that didn't do anything for him. Can you imagine that? Getting a team up collection to get 10% extra Pierce, 40% attack, and no one is talking about it? No one. That's kind of depressing, And they tried to make this whole Guardians of the Galaxy PvP thing happen with Mantis support and Groot support and Rocket support. And they gave this dude a heal on his tier 4. They're like, oh man, we're so smart. He's going to heal and stuff. And he's just trash, bro. He has zero PvP presence. Not even a sneeze in PvP. He's all PvE, baby. And yeah, let's be honest. He's pretty good for PvE. He's very fragile unless you get him tier 4. So you absolutely need the tier 4 so that he can actually tank something because he gets ripped to shreds by sneezes. But I feel like this is a very bait uniform and just overall a very bait character. that had so many opportunities to be replaced, and they took them all. And he's just left crying in the corner. Last one here for this bait list is Captain America. Now, this uniform, Enter the Phoenix, I think this is actually a must-buy uniform or a strong recommendation uniform, but that's for another video. What I'm actually talking about is the Back to Basics. I think this shit is just bait, straight up. And it's unfortunate. It didn't have much of an impact in PvP like we were expecting when we saw that it wasn't better for PvE, and it certainly isn't better for PvE now that we have so many more combat types, you know, especially with Gladiator. But even for PvP, Gladiator is just going to be better than Captain America, like, honestly. So I think as much as people like Captain America and as popular as he is, and as cool as his, you know, tier 4 and stuff look and whatever, blah, 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 I think you got to be careful and you got to think twice, think thrice about buying any Captain America uniform at this point. The reason why I said this one is good is because it gives him access to elemental damage, and so anytime there's some bullshit shenanigans in story mode all war, you'll be covered on that, but that's more like a safeguard against bullshit rather than a actual valuable uniform. So yeah, it's just to protect yourself from shit like this. But yeah, I do think that his newest uniform kind of bait, and yeah, not really worth the crystals. But let me know what you think. Hit me up down below in the comments with your thoughts on if these uniforms are bait, if I missed any important ones, or if I'm being too harsh on any of these and they're actually good. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button. It helps with the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.